That's good. Sometimes you just think you're talking at a screen. Right. Welcome back, everyone. And we now come to item 14 on the agenda, which is the Local Government New Zealand Conference and Annual General Meeting report back. And I'll ask Pippa Coombe to move that, and maybe Councillor Hills to second it, if I could, that we received the report. And then I'll ask Councillor Pippa Coombe to talk to the report as the principal author of it. Councillor Coombe.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm ready here to talk to and introduce the report. I've got my lippy on in preparation. And so I've taken the report as read, but there are a few things that I would like to highlight. Now that we're in lockdown again, it does feel that we were even more fortunate that the LGNZ Conference 2021 was able to take place in person and to go ahead after it was cancelled last year because of COVID. And it really did highlight the benefit of being able to meet in person, kanohi ki te kanohi, with the networking and all the connections that take place. It is only the only annual event that does bring together the whole sector, and it's very important, I think, that Auckland Council is represented, as we do make up a third, of course, of elected representatives from across the motu. Unsurprisingly, the conference was dominated by the significant issues that are currently on the table for local government, namely the 3 water reform and the future of government review. And also a sort of a theme that was underlying around the sector stress, as the president of LGNZ called it, where we've just got a whole heap of things, piling on local government, additional responsibilities with minimal funding support. Also sort of navigating that tension between localism that we've been pushing, but with government trying to expand with a bit more of a reformist centralist agenda. As noted in the report, a shortcoming was the lack of a formal opportunity for delegates to debate the 3 water reforms. But however, the time was well used to discuss the concerns with Mayor, and Mayor Goff, you particularly made use of the time away from the formal sessions to really able to push Auckland's case. And there's some comments in there that, Mayor, you've added to the report just about our 3 waters concerns. I think the whole sector really appreciated the attendance of the Minister of Local Government, Nanaia Mahuta. She was there for the whole conference and also attended the Te Maruata Hui the day before. She's really engaged with the sector and understands the issues. And she's been the Minister for Local Government for over 4.5 years now, which kind of is quite a refreshing from when there was a time of government when we would have about 8 ministers over a 9-year period. There were various sector hui, and I'll leave my colleagues who attended, the Deputy Mayor, Councillors Angela, Richard and Matua Alf, who attended, who might want to speak to their sector items. Just in finishing, I do want to acknowledge that it was quite significant that Auckland Council, and not an organisation as is normal, did receive the Te Tari Taiwhenua Internal Affairs Excellence Award for outstanding contribution to local government during the COVID-19 response. And the Mayor, I think, just got about a 5-minute heads up that this was going to happen and was able to do an excellent brief speech and pay tribute to council staff for their COVID response. And of course, here we are again, just a month over since the conference, that staff have again had to really pivot fast and respond quickly to lockdown. So we do owe them a huge thank you, and it was great to see them acknowledged on the night, along with our Waiheke Resources Trust was a finalist in one of the awards too, which was great. So I just want to also thank our CEO, Jim, and Governance Manager, Phil Wilson, who was there supporting us at the conference, and particularly when it came to the emergency flooding that took place and the need to extend our trip. And I know that elected members really appreciated the support that was provided, but I guess it's all kind of put into context now. At the time, that was a big emergency, but it now sort of has been overtaken by events. Personally, I really appreciated the opportunity to attend and also the Te Maruata Hui the day before the conference with National Council. And I really hope that this report reflects for members the benefits for all of Auckland Council on having our representation at the conference. We also had the AGM the next day, and the remits in there attached. And I just wanted to, before I finish, just highlight too that it was significant that we got the constitution changed to ensure that there is young elected member representation on National Council now, and I know there's been a lot of advocacy behind the scenes for that to happen, led by Councillor Hills, and also we got support for our remit for tree protection. Remits are just another way that we can strengthen the advocacy to government, and so as soon as Mayor Gowdy spoken against that remit, we knew that we had it in the bag, and 79% of delegates voted in favour of a remit to allow councils to adopt general tree protection for significant trees. That is an issue that has been ongoing. So thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to introduce that report, and I'm sure other attendees might want to comment, and also happy to take any questions if there's anything not covered. Ngā mihi.
Thank you very much, Councillor Coombe, and for a very good report. Look, I think we'll take comments and questions. Probably they'll largely be comments at this point together on this item. And the first comment is from Deputy Mayor Bill Cashmore. Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Pippa, for your very good summation. Before the conference started, the regional sector group, which is I represent on our behalf and our part as a regional council, had a 3-day tour of Marlborough Sounds and Marlborough District, and hosted by Mayor Leggett. It was probably the best one I've ever been on. Very informative and challenging. Massive flood issues in that region, in that building. It's quite, the 2 days before the big floods hit, we actually had a tour of their flood response programs, what they were doing, and I was quite staggered to understand that there was little damage done to those site works that they put up to try and prevent flood damage and encroaching on production land and the town itself. But also a massive change that the Marlborough region itself has gone through economically and is now sort of the leading wine region in New Zealand, and massive export industry, high employment, but big challenges around workforce, obviously, just like many other industries having in this country, and what they're doing to try and combat that and challenge it. I thought the conference itself went well. It was dominated by Three Waters, and good on Minister Mahuta for being there for the whole 3 days. We had some good talks, some fairly straight up and down ones with her and also her staff at DIA around the Three Waters pieces, but also other legislation. There is deep concern, I think, amongst the regional sector group that the costs that the essential fresh waters and the Three Waters packages are bringing to local government across New Zealand, generally speaking, are putting severe strain on ratepayers when you're seeing some rates in regional councils going up by 25, 26 and even 28%. It made us feel sort of quite easy saying we were doing 5, they're back to 3.5, but some others have got massive challenges in capacity and capability that I don't believe the government's borne into consideration when it's fast-tracked some of this legislation through, plus with the errors that are in it. But all in all, a good positive conference, and well done to Mayor Leggett and his team. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. A comment from Councillor Al Filipina.
Kia ora, Your Worship. As the Te Maruata rep for Auckland Council, I just want to acknowledge Pippa. Pippa, thank you for the report that you put through, and I know the work that you've done with Bonita, and I just wanted to acknowledge Your Worship and Pippa, the members who attended the Te Maruata hui. So that's really it from me. Just say thanks, Pippa.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Question, Councillor Desley Simpson.
Well, thanks, Your Worship. Look, I just want to thank you for those who attended. Thanks for a very thorough report, which I really, really appreciate. My question, what was the final Auckland Council contingency at the conference? I see the report referred to the councillors, but I just don't know finally how many people we had down there.
If you have a look at the picture on the receipt of the Outstanding Achievement Award, you'll see a mixture of local board and officers and councillors. I think I did a quick count of it because I asked myself the same question. I think there were about 28. Put in perspective, that's about 4% of the attendance at the conference for a region representing 33% of the population. I've got to say, as somebody who doesn't like going to conferences, I've been to too many, that I found that incredibly informative and really helpful, that Aucklanders were able to talk to their colleagues from around the country and actually to do something to combat the general anti-Auckland feeling that's been around for as long as the city has, and to get our point across. And I found the work at the conference on the margins often more useful than simply the presentations. Though having said that, I think the presentations made it well worthwhile for those that used personal development funding. This was a way where you could learn a hell of a lot, and I think most people down there from the local boards and the councillors and the officers all felt that it was worthwhile in that sense. And Rose has just put the formal thing up, so 25 elected members, so that I wasn't too far out on that. Okay, any further questions or comments? Otherwise, I'll just make a couple of comments to
there was just a quick comment from me, if you...
Okay, yeah, Councillor Richard Hills.
Kia ora, Mayor, and thank you so much, Councillor Coombe, for doing that mass amount of work. You were very good at reporting on things. I think it was a pretty successful conference, and like the Mayor said and others, it's just really good to be there amongst all the other councils to share information and hear from other councils too, but also that there is, I think it's waning, but that anti-Auckland kind of feeling is kind of, it's definitely disappeared over the many years that that I've been going. So I think we've helped combat that and show the what we could do, and we were kind of congratulated for that award for the COVID last year. Just on my experience, working with the young elected members, we had about a 2-hour or so meeting with Minister Mahuta, and yes, as the Mayor said, I was surprised that she stayed, Deputy Mayor, sorry, she stayed the whole time, as well as I think there were 6 ministers and the Prime Minister there, which is the biggest I've ever seen. So I thought it was quite good to have the local government minister there listening to all of us. She sat with us local young elected members, and we spoke about the future of local government and Three Waters, and it was quite lengthy discussions, and she listened to all our concerns and things. I just thought it was a valuable experience to be there and also be giving the Auckland perspective and hear the different challenges from other areas such as the Far North, who have, you know, everything, their wastewater and water supplies, everything is at the end of its life with not much funding to pay for it. and there are different ways we can all share different ideas. And I thought that it was a good response on our tree decision as well. There was also the really good panel discussion on the future of local government with Penny and other in the panel, and also some young elected members were there. We were able to feedback on that, and that was around that whole driving, to make sure we are representing our communities and working in partnership with mana whenua more than ever before, but also not just trying to clip things on and off local government, actually relook at the whole way we're doing things and ensuring we increase participation and things like that. The other thing that I will mention, and it's been a shame over the last couple of months seeing and hearing the Māori representation stuff come through media and otherwise, I've seen a massive change there. The whole room standing up for karakia and waiata, and nearly, I think, every speaker doing their pepeha, no matter where they came from. And 6 or 7 years ago, my first ever time going to one of those conferences, there were audible moans in the room when things like that happen, and that just has been a phenomenal change to see a genuine wish for the whole of New Zealand's councils to be backing Māori and tikanga and actually working in partnership. So I think that has been a great change that I've seen. So yeah, that's probably all. The rest is written down. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hills. And just to finish up, it's really reinforcement of the comments of others. It was good that the Minister was there for the whole time. That is pretty unprecedented, and that we had other key ministers there, including the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, and the Minister of Housing. I think the discussions were absolutely worthwhile and the presentations were professional. The downside for me was that while we had presentations on Three Waters and questions, we never actually had a debate, and we never had the chance for local councils to actually express their views on it. So apart from the discussions that I had on the fringes of the conference, I still don't know whether there would be majority or minority support for the government reforms. And I think avoiding that debate was definitely a mistake. The debate came up in National Council, and National Council was held at the same time as conference. So while I'm on the National Council, I usually don't go to the expense of time or money and going to all of the meetings. Pippa represents me there. But the National Council was a chance actually to debate in that forum the question of where Local Government New Zealand was standing on the Three Waters issue. And we had a pretty intense discussion there, which I think was important for alternative points of view to be put from those that may be held by the Chief Executive. Really proud that without notice we were awarded the Outstanding Achievement Award, which is probably the highest award that they give out at the conference, and that they gave it to council as a whole, and that they actually did acknowledge the role that Auckland Council played in the lockdown last year. So I think that was quite a proud time for us, and to accept that award on behalf of our staff and the people that had worked so hard during that period was also a highlight. It was good to get the remit through on trees protection. We got a 79% vote for, which is to provide the general tree protection, which has enabled me to go back to the Minister and, in the advocacy on the need for a more general protection of trees, rather than relying on us to legally designate tree by tree at huge expense, to indicate that there is strong support across Local Government New Zealand for councils having that right to provide a greater level of tree protection. And I think that was worthwhile, and I think if you weren't down there to promote it, actually you wouldn't have got a remit like that through. The only other downside, I guess, was the fact that we were caught in the middle of the cyclone, and you couldn't catch a ferry, you couldn't catch a plane, and you couldn't even drive out of the city. So we were there for a day longer than perhaps we were intending or wanted to be. But overall, I thought it was a good investment of the time of councillors and local board members. And I found uniformly amongst local board members a real appreciation of that opportunity to mix with their colleagues instead of being sort of isolated in our own, I was going to say bubble, that's not quite the right word to use these days, our own council affairs, to be able to get a wider perspective and to exchange ideas with other councillors and members of other regional bodies. So that's been moved and seconded. I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye.
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 To the contrary, no. I declare that carried. We come now to item 15, which is a summary of